and it goes without saying what we can afford. Something fundamental has happened, and there will be long-term consequences when it comes to risk, debt, and economic assumptions. But that does not mean that you will be confined to a life of deprivation and struggle. America remains a land of economic opportunities with a standard of living that even in the most constricted circumstances, that standard of living is well beyond the hope of hundreds of millions of people in less developed countries. You can still become wealthy, but how and what you do with that wealth, that indeed is the test. There's not a perfect world well beyond the economic conditions, of course. America remains engaged in 2 wars with no tidy end in sight. Rogue nations with nuclear arms or the potential for acquiring them show no signs of immediate good behavior. The vital signs of your mother, Mother Earth, have taken a turn for the worse. Prescribed treatment is at once complex and controversial. How we fuel our fundamental appetite for energy, consumer, industrial, and technological and electrical power for vehicular power without exacerbating global climate change is an urgent question for your time. In short, how we all live now on a smaller planet with many more people is a reality that will test your generation for decades to come. What more could a generation ask? We may not have given you a perfect world, but we have given you dynamic opportunities for leaving a lasting legacy as a generation that was fearless and imaginative, tireless and selfless in pursuit of solutions to these monumental problems. A generation that emerged from this financial tsunami and rebuilt the financial landscape of their lives with an underpinning of sound values and an eye for proportion, knowing in fact that in some occasions, less can be more. It will not be easy, but I promise you it will be rewarding in ways that a Wall Street bonus or even a shot on the American highway could not compete. These, after all, are the tests that imprint a generation for the long curve of history's judgment. Those who take the inventory of our time 100 years from now, or 1,000, will not measure our success or failure by the actions of President Barack Obama alone. We're all on the scorecard now, and we cannot escape that judgment by evasion or fabrication. So where to begin? That's a decision that each of you is best prepared to make. And it will be the most rewarding for you if it is rooted in a personal passion and carried out with purpose, even if the first steps are small. You have at your disposal an assortment of nimble and powerful tools that can assist you. Cyberspace, the internet with its vast universe of information and the capacity for research and communication and commerce, playing out on an ever smaller device across an ever wider spectrum of choices. Those are tools. They're not oracles. They complement your mind and your heart. They do not replace them. You'll not solve global warming by hitting the delete button. You'll not eliminate reckless avarice by hitting backspace. You'll not make society more just by cutting and pasting. You should not as well surrender the human experience to 146 characters in Twitter or on Facebook, however seductive the temptation. Guided by the unending effort of poets and artists, biologists and psychiatrists to describe that irreplaceable and still mysterious emotion so essential to the human condition. All the search engines in the universe cannot compete with the first kiss. It will do us little good, in other words, to wire the world if we short-circuit our souls. And remember as well, somehow, before BlackBerries and iPhones, surprisingly short period of time, America prevailed and saved the world. And it would have been easy enough for that generation to come home and say, I've done my share. I'm going to put down my arms and go back to my home and just worry about me. But instead, they got married at went to college, America covered new science, new arts, industries. It gave us the life that we have today, and they did not whine and they did not whimper. They didn't ask for credit because they thought that this was their responsibility as American citizens. In so many ways, President Obama is a child. In so many ways, President Obama is really a child of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King was just a few years older than those of you who are graduating when he began a historic, moral, and nonviolent crusade against racial injustice, armed with his eloquence and passion, courage and conviction. He moved the nation, and he liberated all of us from the unconscionable weight of racial inequality and segregation. And somehow he managed to do that without a cell phone or laptop, without a website or a social network. In 1989, alone and still anonymous Chinese students stood unarmed in front of a Chinese tank and gave us all an enduring image of the determination of China's young to change their nation. He didn't text message that tank or share a YouTube. He put his feet on the ground and his life on the line. In my travels in this country and abroad, to the inner cities and rural backwaters, the worst neighborhoods, and the most hateful killing fields, in the most impoverished countries, to war zones and sites of natural disasters, the most impressive people that I meet are not the kings and presidents, the prime ministers and the governors, the warlords, the generals and the ambassadors. The people who I will carry with me the rest of my years are the idealistically young, the courageous and gifted members of your age group who are the foot soldiers in the long march to ease human suffering. They put their boots on the ground, their hands in the dirt, and they spend their nights in scary places. And they are never more alive than when they're doing this work, not for riches or for personal glory, but because it is the right thing to do. Those kinds of commitments need not take up every day of your life, but they will enrich it if you make a conspicuous effort to dedicate some of your time on this precious planet to helping your fellow men and women who are not as fortunate as you are. I have as well some less weighty observations that may be helpful. You have been told, graduates, a lot recently, that you're about to enter the real world. That, in fact, is misleading. Your parents and I do not represent the real world. Neither does this institution for all of its obvious flaws. This may come as a surprise to you, but in fact, the real world was junior high.